Recording this computer. Okay. All right. All right. So here's what I want to do with this training. I want to do two aspects of I have a seller, now what? So the one aspect is literally, what are my next steps? I get a listing. What do I need to do to make sure the initial things I'm going to do in regards to marketing and setting up to make sure I actually get this listing sold? Okay. But the second aspect of it is the managing seller expectations, right? So how do I make sure that, as we move into a market where it gets more and more likely that a shift is coming, how do we make sure we manage expectations so that we know how to not just take listings, but how to actually sell listings, right? Because at some point, the market's going to shift. It's going to get harder to sell listings. And if you're someone that just gets a listing agreement signed and you think it's going to go under contract with multiple offers, you're going to get pushed out by the people that actually know how to actually sell a listing. Okay, so that's kind of the idea here. So what I want to start with is the marketing aspect of things, literally just in terms of what's Relevate's process, but also what are things that you can do to support. So first and foremost, to kind of just let you know, Relevate wants to support you as much as possible with the listing. So here's your first step. Get the listing agreement signed, all right? Once you get that listing agreement signed, then I want you to submit on the Notify TC on the Relevate app, submit there that you have a new listing. Sean did a great job with this just the other day. Got a listing agreement signed. Even though listing wasn't planning to go live till May, clearly one of the first things he did was he submitted it to the TC. So that's step number one, submit it to TC, because our TCs want to help you with this process, okay? So our TCs are happy to help you with getting disclosures out and getting disclosures signed by the seller in terms of seller property disclosure or lead-based paint or those things. So they're happy to help leverage you in that area. They are happy to coordinate getting a sign placed in the yard. They're happy to coordinate getting professional photos taken and scheduling that tour. They want to help you get it coming soon and live on Zillow. They'd love to help you put it in the MLS for you, all right? All those kind of just administrative things around doing your listing, they would love to help, but they can't unless you submit that to TC right away. So submit it as listing, not under contract, and then they can get that stuff running for you. So obviously in terms of your listing, the most obvious thing is just, all right, what are my steps? And I'm going to step backwards a little bit to say, enticing someone to sign a listing agreement, the primary thing I use as, well, you need to sign this because, is not you need to sign this because I don't want you to go get it signed by somebody else. It's you need to sign this so I can start hyping up your listing. Because unless I have this signed, I can't go tell my whole agent network that I have a listing coming live. I can't go blast it on social media. I can't go do this. I can't go do that. So when you're pushing them to get that listing agreement signed, that's your push is, listen, I am excited to get marketing ramped up. If you give me 2 months, I'll take 2 months and I'll hype the crap out of it. If you give me 2 weeks, I'll take 2 weeks and hype the crap out of it. But if you don't sign this, then I can't do anything. I can't act like I have a listing. So sign this and then I'll get things going. And so use that as your tool to get the listing agreement signed no matter how far out it is. And just as a note, another thing just kind of contractually, if you are not planning to list right away, you need to specify that on the exclusive right to sell. So there needs to be somewhere where it says TBD or like down in the additional provisions you want to say seller and agent agree to list the property at a future date. You want to clarify that because the listing agreement assumes you're going to list it right away. So you want to put that in there, then that gives you the ability to sign it 6 months out or 3 months out or 2 weeks out or whatever. So just make sure you put that in there from a contractual standpoint to protect you. And then if you didn't, not a huge deal. That's something you can go create and amend and extend with broker and adjust that after the fact. So it's not a horrible mistake, but just something to cover yourself. Okay, so that's the first step. Now, as we jump into marketing this property, let's not make it more complicated than what it needs to be. When I walk through my listing appointment, I let them know the National Association of Realtors does a profile of a home buyer every year. Stop me if you heard this before, but they do a profile home buyer every single year, and every single year the stats show that where buyers actually ended up finding the home that they bought, not just where did you see homes for sale, but where did you find the home you actually bought, roughly half of the people said, my agent sent it to me, and roughly the other half said, online. And honestly, Keller Williams dug into this statistic a little bit more at Family Reunion and said the people that said they found it online are probably lying to you. They probably found it online because their agent sent it to them online. So really, it's probably more like 60-70% is their agent sent it to them, and then the remaining is the found it online. But regardless, the two highest categories by far are online and other agents. So when I get my marketing ramped up, that's where I want to do 99.9% of my stuff. I want to market it to other agents, and I want to market it online. So the one thing I think we fail at a lot is the marketing to other agents. So let's say right now, what are some things you guys do to market to other agents?
Facebook groups.
Facebook groups.
Like
That's great.
Smidra coming soon, or whatever those ones were on.
Can we make a plan? I'd love to get like all the Facebook groups that you guys do. So
Yeah, we should do that.
Yep.
Just hit them.
Yeah. So what, Garrett, could you make a note for us to? So what we'll do is we'll email out and try to get the list and just kind of get a list of all the groups that people use, and we'll try to do that for the Springs and do that for Phoenix. We'll try to get just an all-encompassing list so you guys can go join all of those coming soon pages, and you can post it to all those pages. So yeah, step number one, there's like, if you haven't found it before, go onto Facebook and search like real estate coming soon, and you'll see a bunch of groups where you can post them, right? Step number one, post it in all those groups. What's something else that we can do? Marketing to other agents.
Can you put it on the MLS without setting it live?
Our MLS, you can't. I mean, what you could do on our
No
MLS is
pictures or anything,
you could say like showings to start whenever,
Right.
but that's sort of frowned upon.
Okay.
So you can't really do that
Alright.
on the MLS as much. I don't know how Springs views that, but feels like we're kind of frowned upon on putting it in there and then just saying like,
We'll be here soon.
Gordon, how does Springs view that?
I mean, I don't think we have an official stance on that, but because we'll see it every now and then where they'll say showings to begin on X date.
Sure.
But you just got to remember, if it's in there and it's visible in the MLS, that's counting your days on market and everything else, which
Sure.
most likely other agents are using against you when they come to compete against you. They're saying, look, this guy takes 10 days, I do 3.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. So it's kind of a gray area, but for me, the reality is, 60 to 70% of all online traffic is on a Zillow website. So put it coming soon on Zillow, and you're going to get the majority of the traffic anyways. Now that's consumers, but that's also you'll find agents reach out. I would say, what percentage of the coming soon leads that you guys get are actually agents reaching out to you saying, hey, when is this property coming live? So you'll get a lot of agent traffic on Zillow as well. So take advantage of the coming soon. You guys may not realize this, but you have to spend money with Zillow in order to be able to do coming soon. That's why we're able to do coming soon. Not everyone is. And not only do you have to spend money with Zillow, you have to buy, a certain number of leads. So we kind of found the loophole in that we go and buy these really cheap land leads, and then we get enough to be able to do coming soon. So we pay to be able to do coming soon. So let's utilize that. That's a big deal. What else can we do from an agent perspective? Any other thoughts?
Team office meetings.
Yeah, office or team meetings. I can say, I use this all the time. First of all, Keller Williams is the largest by agent count brokerage in the world. And I can say, at least for the Littleton office, we are one of, if not the largest by agent count office in Littleton. So we are directly connected to more agents than a lot of other people. So even just the simple act of doing it in a office team meeting, for sure, you'll connect with agents that way.
So like an intranet for Keller Williams, like an in-house one?
So there is like the KWLS.
Right.
So here's one benefit of Command. I think that's gonna allow us to do this. I think Command will now allow us to start putting in coming soon listings within Keller Williams to other Keller Williams agents. And so I'm not sure where that's at, but I think we'll have that opportunity to where that'll become kind of the KW intranet. We have access to all the KW agents that a non-KW agent doesn't, right?
I know that Smedra, and I've never been to this, but I think it's every Friday they do a breakfast thing, and you can announce their coming soon or
Sure.
fire needs or whatever.
Sure. So local realtor board meeting, you can announce stuff there. The reality is because so few people are doing that, the irony of the fact that 3 people may announce a listing at the local board meeting, but if those 3 listings people are going to give more attention to, people are going to think about that, even if it's not the best fit, even though you'll get more options, just go searching on the MLS. There's something to directly saying. So that's good. That's good. The only other thing I'll say is when you get it live on the MLS, then you can go do reverse prospecting. And so that's a huge thing I talk to sellers about, and that's especially if you're having an open house, because if you're just reaching out to the agent and saying, hey, Sean, looks like your buyer might want to buy my listing, nudge, nudge, and they're like, okay, great. You know what I mean? Like, I have that system, set it and forget it. So if they want it, they'll tell me. But especially if you're having an open house, that's where I would reach out and I would say, hey, looks like your buyer might have some interest. I have an open house this weekend. Send your buyer. I'll make sure you get your commission. I just want to get my home sold. Right? So set up that win-win scenario as you're reverse prospecting, where you can send out that email and you can say, looks like they like this home. Send your buyer to my open house. I'll have the doors open. You don't have to waste your time, and I'll respect your relationship. Make sure you get the commission. Right? So there's another idea. Anyone else have any other ideas in terms of marketing to other agents as you get it ramped up? Okay. So and really, I don't think there's really not too soon. Bridget, did you have something?
Yeah, so in searching for my client a property in Highlands Ranch, I mentioned that they may be wanting to sell their property. And so being able to reach back out to that agent specifically while trying to find them a property, keeping them in mind that when we're ready to list their home, to, you know what I mean? Like, so just like random conversations that you have while you're discussing with other agents that you still haven't even really met yet.
Sure, smart.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. So you may just have a relationship with people. You may just make note when you talk with someone that they may be looking for something. You know, the more people that you friend on Facebook, the more agents that you accept on Facebook. It might get annoying because they're all marketing the same thing to each other, but there's power in that, because I know I got 200 now local real estate agents that all I have to do is just make a Facebook post, not even in a page, and 200 agents will see it, right? So connections on Facebook or just other relationships you made, to Bridget's point. Okay, and the idea here is it's never too early to start ramping this stuff up, all right? That's kind of my thought process. Start blasting it out. Okay, so the second aspect of things, marketing to buyers online. What are some of the obvious things we can do as soon as the listing comes in to market to buyers online?
Have it on Zillow.
Zillow coming soon. That's probably the easiest and most effective, because you're going to get, like I said, 60 to 70% of your traffic is going to be on a Zillow-based website. So you want to get that on there. Again, our TCs would love to help you put that on Zillow. You just got to get the information to them, or I don't even know their process. They might just reach out to you proactively. I'm not sure, but either way, if they don't, reach out and say, hey, I want to get this on Zillow ASAP, and that way you can get people knowing about the property, and a great opportunity to get leads. We've had a ton of leads coming in on Coming Soon properties recently. So you'll also, when those Zillow leads come in, I'll send those to you directly for your listing. So some good opportunities there.
The MLS, doesn't it blast out to all these sites once you put it on there?
It does. So the MLS does blast it out to all the
Realtor,
sites.
homes,
Yep.
all that shit.
And obviously that's like when you get a listed for sale, the MLS is the obvious way to get it to buyers and sellers, because it blasts out to all the sites.
Facebook groups.
Yeah, so Facebook groups as well.
Friend group, your friend,
Mhm.
I guess, right?
Or Facebook ads,
Right.
your friends,
Right.
your
Who
sphere.
knows if they're looking?
Uh-huh.
You know,
Yep.
they'll tell you.
Yeah, blast it out to your sphere for sure. Hey, who do you know that might be interested in this? And this is where like auxiliary Facebook groups might be a good idea. Now you have to know their local rules, but like Harvey Park lets you post on the weekends or whatever. So there may be groups that aren't just agents, but are local community groups where, you know, like it may seem counterproductive to be marketing a Harvey Park listing to Harvey Park people, but they want to choose their neighbors, or they might want to sell, right? Like what has been your experience with that, like posting listings, Harvey Park listings in like the Facebook group?
Good. People don't usually like the stuff. I feel people just stay away from
Sure.
liking our stuff.
Mhm.
But people are definitely looking at it because they try.
You could see the views.
Yeah.
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 I had good luck with that Tallgrass open house there, posted it on the Tallgrass neighborhood. I had a lot of clicks, no likes, but
Yeah.
I saw my click count.
Yeah.
Shoot up.
Yeah, so that's an interesting thing they both noted. I hadn't thought of that before, but that's something for you guys to realize. So they both said they posted a for sale listing in a neighborhood Facebook group. Nobody liked or interacted with the post beyond clicking through to the link. And so just keep in mind, people usually aren't going to like or comment on like what they know is a solicitation, right? Like, but they're clicking through and they're looking at the pictures. So
One thing with posting to all kinds of like different Facebook groups though is you can get put in Facebook purgatory if you post too many in one day.
okay,
So like
Spread out your posts.
no more than like 10 in a day. Okay, so that's a good point. I'll say that again in case you guys didn't hear. So Sean said he's found out, maybe via experience,
Sean Murphy, business page.
via experience, that if you post to too many Facebook groups at a time or in a day, that you could be put in Facebook purgatory where your business page is shut down and you can't run ads from it. So his advice is limited to 10 or less groups a day that you're posting to. That keep you from people thinking you're spam and soliciting to Facebook groups. I would bet they're really careful about spamming groups because they want groups to be really valuable, and so they're careful about that. Okay. The other thing, social media, Facebook ads, that's big. I kind of sell it to sellers as you're going to catch the active people that are looking by coming soon on Zillow, and then you'll catch the passive people that don't know they're actually looking for a home for sale when you post it on social media. So when you're running an ad on social media, you're targeting people that maybe are already looking, but you're also catching someone that's like, I didn't know I was in the market, but that home, that price, maybe I'm in the market now, right? So you want to cover the gamut of actively pursuing, but the passive people that might still be a good fit, right? So it seems pretty basic, but that's what you want to do as you're ramping up. So you get a listing, that's really what you want to focus on is those things. And then as you're moving into managing the seller and the seller getting the listing live, the one thing that I'll tell you guys is 99% of the time a seller will say, what do I need to fix? What do I need to fix to get my home ready to sell, right? And in my opinion, 80% of the time it's clean and declutter. And just do that. Right? There are some other low-hanging fruit, and if there's some obvious stuff and they're willing to do it, great. So probably some other most obvious stuff they'll say is like exterior landscaping or like front door paint on the inside of the home. And then obviously like if they're going to do a remodel, floors, kitchen or bathroom are probably the where you get the best possible money for return. But in my opinion, if you're just going to go do one kitchen or one whatever, you might get the money you put into it back out. But you're probably not going to get a great ROI on that money you're spending if you're doing a whole remodel. I'd rather my client save that $10,000 on the kitchen remodel and we just list the home 10,000, like 10,000 less, right? Or whatever. Right. So that's my thought there. Any other thoughts about the client getting the home ready for sale?
I think the decluttering is pretty huge, just so you can picture kind of where your stuff's going to go.
Mm-hmm.
And there's not like just a ton of crap everywhere and you're walking into stuff. It's annoying.
I have a girl too that she does staging, but like for some people I walked in and like, I don't know where to tell you to start.
Mm-hmm.
And she's much better at delivering the message. So it's like $150, but she'll go through and really help them stage with their own furniture. And
Sure. Yeah. So there's some people where you can get a staging console. Well, maybe we have someone in our office that does it for $75. Sean knows someone for $150. Where for $100, a little bit more, a little bit less, they'll come in and say, here's what to do with the furniture in your house instead of let's bring in a bunch of furniture and lease it for $1,000 a month or whatever. So yeah, if you feel like your listing needs staging or could use a staging console, talk with your team lead. The team's happy to pay for that if it's necessary.
Yeah, and I mean, use that too. Like if you can tell that they're overwhelmed, like about the process of getting their home ready, like, hey, we're gonna take care of them.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so Sean's saying kind of just gauge their stress level on the arranging the furniture and whatever. If it's a big point in their mind, say we'll take care of it, right? And then you can take that stress off their mind. To John's point earlier, he was saying that the decluttering. Here's what I found as a general rule of thumb: if you're going to help them declutter, I still think a room always looks better with furniture in it, but usually you're going to look at their furniture and take most of the secondary items out, like end tables or bookcases or stuff like that, and one of the big items out. So, for example, a living room may have a couch, a love seat, and a recliner, and then you'll have like 3 end tables and a bookshelf. So I'd probably take 2 end tables out, the bookshelf out, and maybe the recliner or the love seat out. And so like when you leave some furniture in, but take a lot of the secondary stuff out, people walk in and go, wow, they have furniture in here and it's still a lot of room left.
Right.
So it makes them feel like, oh, I can fit whatever I want to in here, right? And so that's kind of the staging trick really is how do I, and then obviously you want to avoid blocking windows, blocking doors, letting as much light in as possible. A lot of people end up pushing a bed up against a window just because it was the most convenient thing. Ideally avoid that. Or like back of couches up against windows. Even if you can bring it away from the window a little bit and leave like a walk room behind it, that's going to help. So kind of general staging advice there. Okay, let's jump into quickly seller expectations. Okay, so here's the big aspect of all this. You get the listing, you're blasting all the marketing, the seller's getting the home ready. Now you're getting the home listed for sale, and how do I make sure this process goes as smoothly as possible? So first and foremost, communicate at least weekly with your seller, regardless of whether there's an update or not. Okay, so communicate at least weekly with your seller, saying, even if the update is, hey, we didn't have any showings this week, didn't talk with anyone about the home, there was no open house, I just want you to know, like I'm staying on it, I'm doing what I need to be doing, but I'm just giving you that update. Even if it's a bad update, like, man, 3 people walked through the house, they all said it's way overpriced, or they all said it's terrible and it's never going to sell, you got to pass that information along, right? So first and foremost, communicating weekly. But here's the other thing that I found really, really important. Your first opportunity to manage seller expectations is during the listing appointment. I know you guys are trying to get the listing, but if you oversell on what you can do and what they can list for, you're going to be winning listings. You're not going to be getting closings, all right? It doesn't matter if you get a listing if it doesn't sell, all right? So you need to make sure you're setting proper expectations at the listing appointment and saying, listen, I'm going to get this sold, but this is what we need to list at, and this is what we need to do to get it sold. And oh, by the way, and so I think a seller respects you telling them the truth and coming strongly, saying, and even using that line, I'm not here to list your house, I'm here to sell your house. And I know based on looking at the comps, if you list here, it's going to sit for a while, then people are going to start thinking they can get a discount on your home. And even if we drop the price, they're going to think they can offer less than the dropped price. If we come in at the right price right away, we're going to get the right amount of attention. The other thing I would say is setting expectations by sharing the averages in the market, but also knowing where the market's going. So if it's June or July and you're sharing the past 6 months of data when the market's been craziest, and you know you're moving into July, August, September, when the market always slows down, like make sure you're setting proper expectations. Hey, the average in your neighborhood is 2 weeks on the market, but we are moving into this time of year. I still think it's a great time to sell. Just note, it may take us an extra weekend or two, right? If you can set those proper expectations up front, it's going to be a lot easier for you to have the conversations you need to have later in the process. Does that make sense? And I would imagine I'm trying to teach you guys this lesson now because I learned it the hard way. Okay, all these things are not just I just invented this in my mind. It was I went and had 5 terrible experiences and then realized, oh, it's much better to lose the listing and tell them the truth up front than to lie to them up front or to be overly optimistic up front and then end up having to have tough conversations where they're upset at me after the fact. You guys know me. I'm not one to be overly optimistic, right? So obviously that's a lesson I learned that hopefully you guys don't have to relearn. You're gonna realize it's much easier to turn away business than to take business that never sells or to take bad business that you didn't set proper expectations for. Okay, there you go. So if you prepare your client well during the listing appointment, then this next part is going to be a lot easier. Okay, so here's what happens. Home's listed for sale. You told them it's going to take 2 weeks. It's been 2 weeks. No offers. Home hasn't sold. Now what, right? So this is the big conversation with the seller, right? So a home does not sell, in my opinion, for one of 4 reasons, okay? Either your patience is the problem, you just need to wait longer, Like the market it's going to take more time. You have a limited buyer pool for the property you're selling, and you just need to get a lot more eyes on the property, or you need to literally wait for the buyer to become a buyer that's going to buy your property. One of the issues might be patience. Like one of your strategies could literally be, let's deploy patience. Let's wait longer. I think there's a buyer out there. I think we're priced right. We're going to need to wait longer, right? And I think even especially as we move into a shifting market, this is going to happen a lot. It's going to be, listen, days on market are just longer now, and that's okay. There's just less buyers out there. We need to wait for more buyers to become eligible to come to the market, right? Patience is one reason. You're not being patient enough. Well, these are all P's. Look at that. Look at that.
16 P.
You guys are welcome. The 4 P's of selling your home. The second, price. So that's a pretty obvious one, right? We might be overpriced. Price. So patience might be the first problem. We need to have more patience and wait longer. Second is price. We need to drop the price, right? Now, price is sort of a strategy. It could also be a strategy to offset other things that end up being wrong. So the next two, I'll talk about issues that might be solved by price than fixing the issue itself. But price obviously is the all-encompassing thing you can do, is to drop that price, right? So it may be that you overlisted it to begin with. Or it may be a lot more homes just got listed at the same time when you listed. There's a lot more competition at your same price than what you expected. So price could be a way we need to underprice it to get more attention. Or maybe it's we overprice it, so we need to price it correctly to get the good amount of attention. The stats, they say, if you're even just 10% overpriced, only 40% of buyers will even consider your house. Oh, sorry, I think it's 10% of buyers. Well, I forget what the stats are. I'm not going to share them because there's a big difference. There's like at least a 50% difference of eyeballs between 10% over and 10% under pricing. So it makes a big difference. People won't even consider it if it's overpriced. It'll be fairly normal if you're priced right on it, and like 90% of people will look at it if you're priced 5 to 10% under. So I know that statistic. What are you doing? Okay, so price could be the issue. The third P, this is actually, we're stretching trying to make it a P. Poor marketing. Okay, so poor marketing. So this really helps for you to acknowledge this when you're talking with sellers. Like when I tell a seller, listen, this is the framework. There's nothing outside of this. It's either we need to wait longer, the price is wrong, the marketing is not good, right? So when I frame the whole thing and say, hey, it might be me, but here's why I don't think it's me. And then you walk through all of your marketing, right? So, but it's helpful to present this to the seller so they understand you're putting all options on the table and you're understanding there might be more that you need to do to come to the table, right? And so more things you can do from a marketing perspective. Hey, I'm going to go do another open house. I'm going to go blast a couple more social media posts. I'm going to go do that Board of Realtors meeting I never did initially. I'm going to go do reverse prospecting again to see what I can get. I'm going to go reach back out to everyone that's done a showing and try to entice them to go, right? What are some other kind of marketing things you could do to entice people to buy the property? I have some specific ideas in my head. Some other kind of marketing ploys you could do to try to incentivize people to come, besides dropping the price. Margaritas, free margaritas. So I'm thinking along the lines of what you guys will see is, okay, what's our two audiences again? Other agents and clients. So how do we incentivize other agents? Maybe a commission bonus. Maybe we say, hey, instead of dropping your price $5,000, why don't you offer 3% instead of 2.8? Why don't you offer 3.5 instead of whatever the numbers? Like, it might make more sense for them to go. Yeah, to actually go like give a bonus to the buyer's agent instead of, or not to the buyer's agent, to the buyer. Maybe they could advertise a credit right off the bat. Instead of dropping the price $10,000, say, we'll pay for all your closing costs. Obviously, the buyers could ask for that anyways, but don't you feel like it removes a little barrier for entry for me to consider the property when I know going in they're going to pay for my closing costs, instead of, well, yeah, I would look at that house, but then I have to try to get them to get my closing costs, and they'll probably say no and whatever. So there's some other kind of marketing ploys I feel like you could do. Any other ideas in that arena?
A broker open.
Broker open. That's a good idea. Yeah, so that might not be something that you would jump to initially, but yeah, broker open house where you're throwing a party with booze and food, and what agent's not going to show up for free booze and food, right? So broker open, that'd be another idea. Okay, that's good. Okay, so patience, price, poor marketing, or poor staging. Really stretching the P's here. All right, poor staging. And really what I mean by this is the home's condition, okay? So it might be the way the home's staged. It might literally be something about the house. It could be the house has a funny smell. I mean, like, you can fix that maybe with some staging stuff, like, air fresheners or whatever, right? It may literally be the way that you've arranged the furniture is throwing people off, and you can fix that. But it may also be like, instead of dropping, like Matt's had some situations on listings where they're considering like a $20,000 price drop. And it's like, well, dude, a kitchen remodel is $10,000. Go do a kitchen remodel instead. You had a listing in Parker that was like that, right? That was like, instead of keep dropping, like, let's get creative. Understand like the dollars and cents involved. So we're just going to drop the price again. Maybe I could just use half of those dollars to make the condition better and raise the condition, right? So maybe things to fix. There may be cosmetic things. Maybe they could update the front door or the landscaping. Maybe they could fix a glaring issue that everyone's talking about. Hey, that flooring just clearly needs to be fixed. That carpet is terrible. Go replace the carpet, right? There are plenty of contractors out there who might be willing to take payment at closing so that your seller doesn't necessarily have to pay for it right then with cash they may not have, okay? So patience, price, poor marketing, poor staging. So that's really the conversation. So the way that, I'll just reiterate this one more time, the way that I would expect you guys to have this conversation with the seller is to lay it all out on the table. The seller wants to feel like you're saying, here's every single possible thing that it can be. Let's acknowledge each one and figure out what our best option is. So when you lay it out there and go, listen, there's only 4 reasons why your home's not going to sell, right? And you can frame it in the idea that either people are seeing, either first and foremost, people don't even know your home exists because they're not seeing it online. 2, they're seeing it online, but they're not coming. 3, they're coming, but they're not offering, right? So then you just walk through that and you go, well, I know they're not seeing it online because I have it on every single possible site, right? But maybe they're seeing it online and they're not coming. Okay, well, what could that be? Are the pictures good? Yeah, the pictures are good. Is the price good? Maybe the price isn't good, right? And so then that's part of the marketing aspects that we can deploy. Maybe we need to offer more money or lower our price, right? Okay, but then if people are showing up but they're not offering, okay, clearly pictures look good and the marketing's good because people are walking in the door that are like, oh man, this looks way better online, right? That's a good problem to have, but they're walking through and not offering. Something when they walk through doesn't appear as it does in the marketing. And maybe that's the home just really isn't worth what they thought it was. It looked like it was worth it in the pictures, but not when you walk through, and it's a price issue. Or maybe it's a staging or condition issue, right? Maybe it's something with the neighborhood that you didn't anticipate. Gigi had an investor flip where they flipped a home and it was right on like a major highway. And they really didn't understand how big of a deal it would be until you got it listed, and it became a really big deal. And so they had to drop the price until they're at that critical mass level where someone's like, all right, for that price, I could forget about the highway, right? And sometimes you just don't know until you get it listed. And so best thing you can do is tell the seller, listen, I know that road right there is a big freaking deal. I don't know how much until we get it listed. Just know that we might have to drop our price to correct that issue.
Do you ever boost Facebook ads on your listing?
For sure. Yeah, so I think obviously open house is an obvious one,
Right.
but I think there's 2 reasons why you might just create a Facebook ad and boost it for your listing. One is just the leads that could come in from that. But 2, like I said, there's going to be a small percentage of buyers online that are passive buyers. They're not actively out there looking at homes for sale, but if that perfect opportunity came along, maybe they'd consider it. So there's that possibility with a boosted Facebook ad in terms of selling your listing. 9 times out of 10, it's probably to funnel more potential buyers into your business, which is still fun. But again, the other thing is, it's also just one other thing you can tell the seller that I'm doing. You know, even if you spent $30 on a Facebook ad for a weekend, I ran a boosted, targeted Facebook ad to all the buyers in the market just to make sure we're covering our bases for people that might not actively be looking. You know, that's something that sounds good to a seller, right? Yeah, so I would say just kind of walk through that process with the seller. And if you're having that right conversation, then it's easy to say, all right, well, if people aren't seeing it online, here's the possibilities. If they're seeing it online but not coming, here's the possibilities. They're coming but not offering, here's the possibilities. And all of the issues are probably going to be one of those 4 things: patience, price, poor marketing, or poor staging.
Can I add something?
Yes, sir.
I love Tuesdays, so I had a hard time with furlongs home, and they were all over my ass about like what's going on with it. One, I think Tuesday is the best date to do your updates with them every Tuesday. That way, if you had showings the weekend, you have Monday to try to circle back to the agents, because agents suck at getting back to you. So you can hound them down on Monday. And also, going into the first weekend, looking up what other homes are on the market, just get that last like snapshot of what the competition is going to be like, so that if nothing's like in their market, like they're like, why didn't our house sell? Nothing's sold. Like no other home has moved, and we're getting the most views, we're getting the showings. So like patience, that's exactly where that went down to. Like
That was the first page.
Okay.
but without having like the story and being able to show them that, I think they just think that we're not doing our jobs.
Okay. So to reiterate those 2 things, people online, Sean suggests Tuesday updates. It's a good day of the week to follow up with showings from the weekend on Mondays, and then actually update your seller every Tuesday. Then secondarily, when you go live, look at all the other competition right before you go live or right as you go live, so that, you know, if your home doesn't sell but nothing else does, then you have that fodder. And that's nothing sold this weekend. So that's good. That's helpful. And it's good just to know your competition one last time. Something, because inevitably it might be 2 more things got listed that I didn't see when I did the listing appointment, but now you got 2 other pieces of competition. These agents came in and just listed it 10,000 under what they should have listed at, and now yours looks overpriced just because these other homes. So definitely, yeah, that's a great piece of advice. Do another audit, not probably weekly, like every single weekend if it's multiple weekends when you list it, but then before that Tuesday update, you can go look and see what else hit the market. Did it sell? Did it not? Did some agent just list it a home at a stupid low price, and so we're not going to sell ours until that one's gone? Right. That's good. Yeah. Anything else to add? Any other advice? Just for I have a listing, now what? Getting the home sold, but also managing sellers' expectations.
I think my biggest fear is when they're gonna ask me what I need to do.
Oh, sure.
I have all these projects I need to do before we can get this listed.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you don't want to say.
Discredit them.
Yeah, but so that's
Yeah.
That's a good question. That's a good question. And Natalia kind of saw how I did this when we went to a listing appointment together. Like a seller wants you like it does feel like they're like, well, I know like this, because that's what the sellers are going to do. Oh, I know I have to do this. I know I have to do that. I know I have to do that. That's when we have to step in and have the tough love conversation. Listen, I know you think you have to do that, but I'm going to make this a lot easier on you. You don't have to do that. Like, do this, this, and this. If you want to spend time and money doing that, that's fine, but you might just get a dollar for dollar return on that. Would you rather go spend those $10 to get 10 extra dollars, or would you rather just not spend $10 at all and just not worry about it, right? And so that's that tough love conversation we need to have with them. I say it every single time. You probably just need to clean and declutter. Maybe there's a weekend painting job or like something to do, but maybe you need to clean and declutter, and that's probably it. Yeah.
I'll talk about my situation I had last week. So I have a listing in North Aurora, 300,000, right? So single family home, not anything crazy. The property itself, right, we drive up the curb appeal. The garage door was dented. You can't imagine how it opens and closes. And they were more concerned about the paint. So, and I was like, yeah, I mean, in reality, you could change the paint, but not every buyer is going to like the paint color that you choose. So my focus would be replace the garage door and then give them some type of credit or allow them to go ahead and repaint the house, the exterior house, the color that they actually prefer. So that's the conversation. They're like, oh my God, that's a great idea. They were going to have to spend $4,000 when there's no guarantee you ever get that money back. Right. So if anything, give them a credit for $3,000, you might end up coming out on top.
Yeah, I put in the chat what Matt said, so I don't have to say it all again. You guys that are listening, you can go look in the chat for the notes.
Chatters.
Awesome. Yeah, that's a great idea. Like there are times where it's like there's one glaring thing here, and it's a garage door. Yeah, and yeah, paint's a tricky one because it's like if you're gonna go paint something you think looks good, that doesn't mean I'm gonna want it to be that paint color. That's good. Yeah. Anything else from just getting home sold, managing sellers' expectations?
I've never heard of
I
that.
think just like we talked about, integrity with that core value was we don't take the easy way out, and taking the easy way out is not having the tough conversations with sellers, and just putting it all on the table. Listen, I'm going to let the opportunity that it's me be something we talk about, but I'm also going to prove to you it's not me because I'm doing this, and this, right? If you think there's more I could be doing, let me know. But if you want me to do something that I don't think is going to work, I'm going to tell you why I don't think it's going to work. But if it's going to make you feel better, then I'll do it, right? Sometimes you need to do something for a seller, makes them feel better, even though you know it might not actually sell their home. But I will never do it to tell them, oh, you're right, that's a great idea. That might sell your home. I'll go do that. I'm going to say, listen, I don't usually do that because I don't think you get a great return on that. I don't think that really works that well in selling a property. But if you'd like me to do that, I will do that just to cover all bases. That way, when you do it, the seller will feel good that you did it, not upset that it didn't sell the house, right?
What kind of situations have you had with that? Like things that you've done that sellers ask for that you're like,
Well, yeah, for sure. When we've had a lot of them recently on the team. I mean, it's like Sean had someone specifically ask him to do like this big blowout like broker open, which we'd never done a broker open before. And I think it's a possibility. I think that depending on the house, it could be a good fit. I think it tends to work a little bit more for like luxury properties and reaching out to luxury agents directly. So that was something. I think what else sellers have asked to do. I'm trying to remember. We had a seller talked about marketing in some really weird specific magazine. Like an Evergreen Homes or something, or
Timber frame.
oh yeah. So they were like really obsessed, like their architecture style of their house, and they were like, we need to market in like a National Timber Frame magazine. And I'm like, that might be a 0.001% chance that something comes of that, but they're just adamant like that had to happen. So you know, that was something.
That I decline. You can't with relationships. It's $500,000 off with the couples actually.
Yeah.
She's on our fourth listing agent right now.
I think it might be more than that.
Oh, maybe more. I don't know.
And I think it's now like 700,000 under what
Yeah.
she was trying to tell us. So there's that.
She just wants to keep that.
Yeah, I'm trying to think if there's,
She really likes it.
if you know, another thing may be like helping a seller to understand the point of an open house. Because like sometimes I've had sellers that are like, got to do another open house, got to do another open house, got to do another open house. And I'm like, you do understand this is for me and not for you, right? Like,
that's the only thing that will come to mind when you said that. Was like,
there's one aspect of an open house, which is I'm going to put your home in the best light possible. So you've got those sellers that just are not going to keep the house clean, that the showings are just not going to go well. An open house is a good way to like, you come in, you pick it up, you make it smell good, you turn on the lights, and then they're like, oh, this is a nice house. So that would be one reason. Another reason would be other people are walking through and you kind of build false like competition. Besides that though, an open house is probably not selling their house. So that's another thing. Like if they're pushing for a third or a fourth, or if they're complaining about the number of open houses you're doing because you're not doing enough, they'll think it's probably off. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, there's just all sorts of things. They'll think flyers or the real estate book, or they'll think
Internet.
yeah, stuff like that matters, you know.
Just remember that you're the expert.
Yeah.
You know, like if people think they know what the heck they're talking about, that's why you're getting hired. For that specific reason. So just make sure if you ever have any pushback on things that they might think that they know what they're doing is better than what you actually know based off of experience, make sure you reiterate and hold your stance on it if you feel that conflict with your ability.
Yeah, I mean, that's why I love using that NAR stat to frame everything in. Listen, 99% of people find the home they're actually going to buy from their agent or online. And there's just 1% of crap that like maybe occasionally, but most of this other stuff is just to sell marketing and to sell ads and all this other stuff. It's not actually to sell houses. So that's why I love that statistic, because they come back and bring up some other thing. I'll say, but remember, 99% of your return is going to come from these two things. I found it's much more helpful for me to spend an extra hour or 2 hours going deeper on marketing to agents and buyers online than to waste time with this other medium. Right? And that's why it's important to frame it in that.
Do you ever like let them say they want to like do something? You're like, okay, this isn't going to work, but I'll show you that it's not going to work. Something like that. Not to spite them or something, but just be like, all right, now I'm back in control because you're a stupid idea.
That's kind of what I said earlier. Is like, if a seller really pushes on an idea, and I end up doing it, I'm going to make sure they understand, listen, I don't think that this works, which is why I don't do it, but it's going to make you feel better. I'll do it. And I want to frame it in that regard so that when I do it and it doesn't work, they're not upset that I did it incorrectly or that, they weren't expecting it to work.
Right.
They, so when it's done and it didn't work, they're like, oh, you were right. And it builds my rapport. Versus if you just go, you know what, you're right, that might work, and you go do it and then it doesn't work, it could only cause more tension between you. Right. You're like, well, you said this might work, and then you did it, it didn't work, when in reality, all along, you knew it wasn't going to work.
What I meant was it's not.
Yeah, what I meant is I don't do that because I don't think it's going to get you what you're looking for, but if you really want me to do it, I'll try it to make you feel better.
Cool.
So, yeah. Cool, guys.
It's so hot.
That's it. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
It's like a sauna.
It's like 69 degrees.
Have a killer weekend.
At least I'm dead.
Yeah, let's leave that door open.
Yeah, right.
Warm.
I started off as hot.
Want to go to your fourth office?
Is that where you want to go?
Yeah.
Sure, let's go with it.
Yeah.
Okay,
Let's game plan.
let's go kick it. That Gigi's boyfriend? Yeah. Oh,
No, he's too dark. Dark
too
skin.
dark. Yeah, she likes the lighter one.
Yeah.
She likes the mixies.
Got that dark skin friend, love like Michael
Our
Jackson.
inspection came back for one of my under